Hello, welcome to the third episode of how to make a bracket. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to make these dropdowns, like get list of players from Google Sheets and generate them to this page. This page is not going to work online yet. I don't know how to make it yet. However, this is going to work for internal use for admins, so to speak. If you plan to share this website, it's only going to work on one computer. You can't share like the access to multiple computers, so to speak. Each computer has to like work on their own. But it has multiple uses, so it should be fine still for plenty of use cases. So if you watched the previous video, there was some error with CSS and it's fixed right now. We're going to go through the code and see what's added. Updated parts is this, the branch one. We updated its value to 620, this to 620, this to 620, and you can see all the updates in the source code that has this next to it. And we also updated this to 150, this 25%, this to 300, this to 75, and this is 600, which pretty much solved it, as you can see right here. So with no further ado, we're going to create we're going to talk about how to make this connection between Google Sheets and JavaScript to HTML. So first things you want to know, this contains of 3 parts. First is creating the sheet in Google Sheets. The second is connecting the divs to the HTML, to the JavaScript, and then write a formula which is going to connect all 3 basically, and update every time you update the page, so to speak. So let's go in and create a sheet here, and let's call it bracket players perhaps. And note that for this specific formula we're going to use, it's only going to pick up the data from the first sheet. Let's call this players. So for example, you could have Google Sheets form, players submit to the form, and then it goes to the filtered somehow in Google Sheets, and then the player list gets here. So for this you can only have one row. You don't want multiple rows. You could have it, but it's useless since you only go to have one row, and you also have in this case 8 players, so plus the select player, and then we can just add player 1 and just drag it down to player 8, and to delete the rest you can just do like this and delete. You could add more if you want, but we're not going to do that in this video. Next up, we want the edit link. Actually, first let's go here and create a new JavaScript file. We're going to call it main.js. Nice, now we have the JavaScript file in here. Next up, we're going to go all the way down in the body and write script. And we can have source as main.js, and like this. Now it's connected to our sheet properly, and right now we can pretty much begin with the code. So the first thing we need in the code is to create a variable called URL. So let the URL equal to. So right now we're going to add the link. I do recommend making it to edit link, since if you're gonna need it later for access, so make it edit link so anyone can access it, but the admins are the only ones that's going to be able to view it, since it's only accessible on one computer, so you're not going to share the entire code with someone else. Delete this part of it and write G viz, which stands for Google Visualization, then TQ question mark. If you don't write this, it's not gonna work. It's not possible either to connect other sheets with this link. I've tested it, doesn't really work. You have to make some public sheet or something to make it work, but that didn't really make it like that. It didn't work in my opinion. It was too complicated for a newbie. Again, making a constant called query, and this query is going to be encode your component, and inside of this is going to be a query which is select a. What we're selecting is, oh, by the way, I forgot these. Should also always put these after semicolons. Select A is basically this, more or less. Alright, and then we're going to create a URL for the formulas. URL equal to URL plus TQ equal to, and then the plus query, and close the parentheses, the add semicolon. So this is the basics of the formula. If you don't have this right, it's not going to work whatever you try, so get this right. Next up is going to be the actual formula. We're going to fetch URL, basically fetching the Google Sheets with the query we want of the first row in the first sheet. Note that it has to be the first sheet, so basically if you have another sheet right here, a duplicate, this one is going to be selected right now, so this has to be the first one. So even if you hide, so like if you make another one duplicate of this, and this one is to the left, and you hide this one, then this one is going to be selected still. So make sure that yours is all the way to the left, the first one. Otherwise, my formula is not going to work, frankly speaking. Just so you know, so you don't come to me later and say why it doesn't work. Make sure that's fixed before you start. Then we're going to write done rest up. If you wonder where I got this formula from, it's from a video, another YouTuber. I think he explained it pretty bad, and the use case is pretty bad, so I'm trying to make it a bit better than his, because he never explained all the details I'm saying right now. I found that out myself, which was kind of sad if you ask me. And parentheses, and here's going to be the first formula. We're going to make a constant, which is going to be called data, and inside it's going to be a JSON string file, parse, and then wrap. So this code right now is not a secret. You can find this code anywhere really. Substitute for 7. This is basically just fixing the link, the data, and making sure it's readable data for JavaScript. Slice. Did I forget parentheses somewhere? Slice. No. 0, -2. You can see this as a split formula, more or less. Hope I did. Let me just double check so it's spelled right. Rapid substitute for 7 dot slice 0 -2. Yeah, seems right to me. Next up is going to be the actual formula. So basically, we're gonna make a constant. We're gonna call it row 01. And this is going to be equal document dot create element, and we're creating a TR, which basically means new row, basically. Nothing more than that. We don't want it to be concatenated, like the text together. We want each text to be splitted. Alright, and we want P01 dot append row 01. So what does this code mean? What is P01? P01 is coming from the index.html. We can put this below here. And it's basically, where is it? Here? Yeah, we changed it to player 1, so it's going to be player 1 here instead, not P1. I thought so almost. Player 1. It's the ID of the select box, so to speak. Right, so that's all we need. Now just gonna copy this and paste it 8 times. 2, 2, 2. So we're done with this part right now. Next up, we're going to write the next part of the code, which is going to be data.columns, actually table first, columns for each. I didn't want that. For each. And we're going to create a new variable called headings, and in this we want to do following. Let's see. Here's where it gets complicated with the parentheses and everything. Seems right so far. We're going to make a new constant called cell. And this constant is going to create a document dot create elements, and in this is going to be the element option. This is of course to the what do you call it, to the HTML, so to speak. It's going to create the option for the HTML of each one of this, so to speak. It's going to loop through all of it. Yeah, that's what it does. And there we're going to get cell text content of these cells. So basically this data, the text of it, and we're gonna give it to heading.label. Right. So next up is appending it. So row 01 dot append cell. So what we're doing right now is coming here and giving each one this entire list with like space between them, not space, backspace between them. No, not backspace. Like next row, so to speak. That's what this is doing. And you just have to do this 8 times for 8 players. And that's it for now. We're gonna go below this and start the next part. We're getting close to finish it right now. In here we're going to write data dot label dot rows, not row, it's rows right now. Make sure to spell it right. Dot for each, and main, which is going to be this formula, another one with 8 or so, const container 1, this is holding the data, so to speak, document dot create element option. This is like a follow-up or something. I don't really understand it either, but as long as it works, I'm fine with it. And then once again, we're gonna get the player here, ID player 1 dot append container 1 and semicolon. Now you want to copy paste this few times. Eight, and that's it for this part. 2. One second. Alright, next up we're going to start with the next one. Next loop. It's going to be main dot C. I can explain what C is later. For each, and going to be element in here. Actually, not that element. It's going to be met like this. Then you're going to have the it's going to be thing sign, and in here we're going to write the const cell 1. You can really call it anything. Just make sure to remember, give it like a number afterwards. That's all you need. Document dot create element. Once again, option. If you ask me, I don't really know why there's so many options and stuff. I'm guessing like it's when you get the JSON file, the code is like so deep inside, you have to dig it out within inside loops. So like .c and .v is like getting inside of those, digging inside the data to bring out the numbers, so to speak. No, I mean bring out the names that you've written. Option, then we're going to have cell 1 is text content equal element dot v. Right, and this we copy once again, copy paste. Get it. It's going to be container 1 dot append cell 1, and we're just going to do this once again, and after this we're done. And 8. I'm just going to double check the code, and it seems to be right, so it should be working now. Let's test it out. And something is wrong. Let's see what's wrong. Yeah, so it happens that when there's errors you have no clue about, what you can do is you can start from the start again, because everything seems right on the first glance, right? The spelling, everything, we just copy and paste it. So we're going to do console.log and data. That's the start of it, because we're making a data. And we're going to the page, refresh, inspect, console, and here it says res is not defined. So let's go to res. You can do Control F if you can't find it. So rest is only on 2 places, right? And if we look closer on these 2 lines, we're going to notice that res equal to res.text, this one is missing one arrow. Oops, another one. So right now it should be working. Probably. There you go. 31 to 8. So let's say like if we add RAM, then refresh, it is going to have RAM inside of it, in all of them, which is pretty damn convenient if you ask me. And we don't need this anymore, so we can just delete the console log. And that is, my friends, how to connect the Google Sheets to JavaScript to HTML in a simple way. I'm gonna scroll through the video right now slowly and the code, so you can check out yourself if it seems to do you any good. Let's see. It's really just a copy paste back and forth. Well, thanks for watching, and the next episode we are going to finish the scoreboard by defining results and making a player be able to continue to mix the match, so to speak. Yes, bye.